Hi YouTube. Normally when I make rant videos, I tend to have them re-scripted and at the very least be lighthearted enough to have an editor animate all of it out and make it visually appealing and fun, and I really think about my words and sentences and the way that I convey things. But this video is not that video, and you'll see why when I get to the points that I want to talk about. Fair warning though, it is 3 a.m. as of recording this video. So that's why I'm probably not yelling at the top of my lungs as much. It's been a long day because Spotlight happened, and that was fun, and that was good. There's genuinely, I have no notes. It was perfect. Everything that is new was actually phenomenal, and I am so excited for the future. I'm so excited for the entirety of the next year. New hero every single season. 5 heroes. That's more than the launch of Overwatch 2 was. Overwatch no longer having a 2. It's all coming together and it's phenomenal. Unfortunately though, I play Sombra. And after the Spotlight event was over, all the content creators there got to play the build, which included the changes of Season 1. And unfortunately, after I saw what they did to Sombra, what changes they made, it's not overwhelming changes, but it's enough to make me not want to play her next season. It's just, I'll get to it, right? So I tweeted out that I genuinely don't think I'll be playing Sombra that much next season. And I had more words, sure. But I mean, I'm not just gonna read it out to you. So here are my 3 reasons. The first 2 have to do with me wanting to play Sombra off stream, and then the last one is the main reason why I said I probably wouldn't be playing Sombra much, which is something to do with on stream. So let's get to it. Reason number 1, the half health passive was used in a sub role, and you might be wondering what that is. So Blizzard in the next season, upcoming season, implemented a sub specialist role. So and there's a bunch of modifiers to groups of heroes. So for example, the sharpshooter sub role for DPS has Cassidy, Ashe, Hanzo, and based on how much damage they do via a headshot, get a refund or reduction of their mobility cooldowns. All right, and there's one for flanker, and then there's one for specialist. Now, putting aside the fact that everyone knows Sombra's supposed to be a flanker, Sombra got put in recon. And recon essentially is that you can just have Sombra's passive if you do damage to someone that is half health. The visual, like the half health passive, right? You detect enemies below half health through walls after damaging them, and you can only see them for 5 seconds. This is her page, and at the bottom of her page, over here, it used to say that you could just see half health targets, and now that's gone. Now that's replaced with sub-role recon. And the problem I have with this is that not only functionally is it just completely broken now, right? The half health passive was used to discern who to dive and exit stealth for. So you need to find a reason, a person that is a dive target, and you do that by using that passive visual, right? Whoever is half health is the person you'd go for. But now, with this change, you need to unstealth and commit to a dive to see if you can commit to a dive. And that just is so dumb to me. It's just, what's the point of the ability? It just doesn't make any sense anymore to me. That's like adding a 300% damage increase to headshots, but the gun that you have is Winston's Zap Cannon. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's putting aside the fact that it's kind of insulting that she literally just gets her own perk repackaged, made shittily, and then given back to her when she could have had anything else that would be so much cooler. She's in recon with her own ability made worse, and that comes at the cost of not being able to reduce her movement ability if she does critical hits, or health packs restoring more health, or eliminating an enemy briefly increasing her reload speed, right? It just, the sacrifice is so comical that it's like it bypasses the feeling of insulting to me. I don't understand it. I mean, that just sucks. Sombra already sucked, and now she just sucks more. That's frustrating, sure, but such is the way of the world, right? Reason number 2, though, that's more of an overarching repeat problem that I have with her kit, and it's getting to a point for me. Her new major perk that they showed off, and I can go back to this here, high speed bandwidth. Hacked health packs provide allies with 25 increased movement speed and 50 overhealth for 4 seconds, right? Currently, it takes 10 seconds to get rid of your overhealth with the healthy hacker perk in total. But this is less health and lasts less long. Even if it decays faster, you still just have less health. So it is a worse version for Sombra of the perk, especially given that the 4 seconds don't overlap with your translocator, which is the reason why Healthy Hacker sucked in the first place. They had to buff the heck out of it. Like, they really, really went to town. It used to do 50 overhealth, and it decayed, I think, I think this was exactly it, just without the movement speed. And now it's that, but with movement speed to compensate, and it provides that to teammates too. And there's a problem with that for me. So Blizzard really has like a repeat strategy when it comes to making overarching long-term changes for Sombra, in that they do a thing in her kit, right? They make it the central point of her kit, and then to facilitate it, they nerf the things around it, and then that thing still gets nerfed, right? So Blizzard makes a thing in her kit, make it the central point, so that's the thing people play around, which predominantly has been stealth, and then they nerf the things around it to facilitate that being the case. Then they nerf that thing, and if that wasn't good enough, they still try to make the players do it anyway, just in a more convoluted, shitty way. And it is very frustrating to be at the center of that, right? So an easy example is that stealth started out on a timer, and then stealth was made permanent. And to make it permanent, they had to nerf hack, nerf the damage output, and also nerf EMP. So you can't EMP shield health anymore. Her damage output is now dependent on hack, right? But hack itself doesn't actually do that much ability lock. It's just a second and a half, right? And then, like a year and a half ago, they nerfed stealth, and it was put back to a timer. And then added a perk that gives you more stealth again. You just have to hack people for it. So you're back to square zero, and you made no changes except make the whole process more convoluted. And it is an exhausting process. It is so exhausting, right? So another example would be that Sombra can hack health packs, right? And then they nerf the translocator, so Sombra can't just teleport to a health pack anymore, right? But then they buff the health pack hacking via the perks, and then they make Sombra have to go to a health pack anyway. Instead of translocating, you have to walk to one now every time. Why? Why still do it then? Why make that a thing? You've through balance insinuated that you don't want Sombra players to behave like that, and then you take it away, and then you reward people still doing it by measure of counterbalancing. I don't understand it. And this brings me to a larger point, and this is more of an overarching conceptual point here, right? And that same thing happens to the passive. The half health passive, right? And this time it's also that she just doesn't get to participate in any of the new cool stuff. She just gets a downgrade. Okay, I guess it's worst of both worlds now. Another thing, this is more of an overarching thing, I guess more of like a gripe that I have with what's even happening in a conceptual sense, is that lower elo players ban Sombra, right? They think she's annoying, and that's, to them, fair, because lower elo Sombra players prioritize infrequent but high impact moments. They wait for a Sigma to get ready to flux, and then the moment he fluxes after 30 minutes of doing nothing, they shoot that down frame one, right? To do that, they used permanent stealth as a crutch. They're in stealth as much as they can to wait for those moments, to be ready for those moments, right? And if they get zapped out, then they go to a health pack and they do it again until they get to do it. And that's what makes them annoying, right? It's at the peak of when you don't want a Sombra to be there, that's when the Sombra is there. But that doesn't make you win, and that's the main problem. See, higher elo players don't find her annoying, and that's because higher elo Sombras prioritize frequent but lower impact moments, right? Sombra players are more active. They shoot down the smaller things. Like they don't wait for a Sigma to flux. They shoot the Sigma so that he uses his grasp, and then they hack that instead so that he has more down, like he gets killed off of that, doesn't even get to use flux, right? There's those little things that stack up over the course of a game, right? They play to use the least amount of stealth as possible, the most efficient, most optimized way to go about every small minor interaction. You do want to use stealth just as little as possible so that there's more density in impact to when the Sombra is using stealth, right? You don't need to wait. You just need to break line of sight and be forgotten or whatever. It's just way more dense, right? So the Sombra players in higher elos don't play around health packs nearly as much, right? And that's what sets them apart. So Blizzard, for some reason, keeps adding perks that force higher elo Sombra players to play like lower elo Sombra players. What are we doing? This the worst way to go about it. It is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. Because now, eventually higher elo players are going to find her also annoying. Because you're making the better perks be the ones that only lower elo Sombra player gameplay loops would have. You're not bumping up the lower elo crowd. You're lowering the higher elo. It doesn't check out for me. I don't want to play like that, but I'm going to have to. I don't know why Blizzard is doing this. Reason number 3 has to do with this part, right? In Opportunist, you can see when enemy heroes have their ultimate ability. And this, I cannot stress you enough, is the most insulting, maybe, change that I've seen. Just like as in a general sense, I am so upset at this. I can't. It is hard for me to express it in TOS friendly words. This is bad. This is a bad buff. It is on paper a good thing. Yes, right. It is objectively a net positive in value from the character. But why is Blizzard making the most hostilely received character in the game get an ability that is purely conveying information to your teammates in voice chat? If Sombra's existence showed if anyone in the enemy team had an ultimate to everyone, meaning that you don't have to partake in any active action to convey this information as the Sombra player, I'd be okay with this. But that's not the case. If the Sombra has the capability of pinging if someone has an ultimate, then you'd be pinging to the degree of spam, and that's annoying. You'd be pinging in the middle of team fights. That can get in the way of the Sombra. And pinging an entire game long every 10 seconds because you don't know if your teammate forgot or didn't keep track of any of the enemy team's ultimates at any point in the game from any moment whatsoever is such a tedious concept of a task for a character that I would rather not play the hero at all than have to do that. So the way to bypass that is voice chat. So essentially, I'm being forced to be in voice chat to constantly convey if the enemy team is going to use an ultimate, has an ultimate, or got an ultimate, and any of those 3 need to constantly be repeated in case someone forgot, was occupied, was thinking about something else, or forgot. Or any combination of any of that. And they're giving that task to the hero that gets called slurs on an hourly basis. And I have to deal with that as a content creator, right? I play the game, I record the game, I stream the game. People watch me play the game. People watch me get slurred by random people for the heinous crime of playing a video game character. And they're making that person, that type of person, be the initiator and icebreaker for voice chat and social interaction. Out of all the heroes in the game, they're making the one character that everyone is okay with slurring constantly be the initiator. I don't understand how, why? Why would you want that to be invited? Why are you amplifying that behavior? I'm not going to put any screenshots if you're hoping that that's what the next slide is, right? But my God, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. And missing out on that level of value, bypassing the entire concept of ult economy and ult tracking, just completely bypass, just ignoring it. Like, it's not, the moment you have a Sombra, you do not need to even think about if someone has an ultimate. You can ask for it. That's the barrier. And this was a thing before this season. For the entire lifespan of Sombra, barring there was I think 2 seasons where it was a bug, any hacked enemy you could see the ultimate of. But that requires an active process, right? That requires an action to be undertaken. And generally speaking, if you hack someone, it's a bonus factoid. It is not something that is taken into account for the overall balance of relative impact to one another heroes, right? So now they're adding an element that could very well be a requirement in balance to be taken into consideration when compared to the other heroes in the DPS roster. So someone that is constantly communicating and doing all of that will be having a higher win rate because this is insane. Doing this gives you a net bonus value. So not doing this, by contrast, puts you at a disadvantage. You are being punished by Blizzard for not communicating this. This is an overarching concept that you're skipping. Like, this is like if a character introduced a mini-map and you could just tell when someone is corner camping. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It does, unless everyone in the team, when Sombra gets picked, can see ultimates. This is bad. This is a burden and a half to put on the Sombra player, and it is not fun. I do not want to do this. Again, I'm not putting any screenshots, right? I understand that they've been working on a rework, or the thoughts of a rework, or the concept of a rework, whatever, right? They've been working on something since, at the very least, the first public confirmation of anything happening was way back in August of last year. And I understand, right? This is all a work in progress, and things happen on the way. But why is this what's happening along the way? Why along the way are they just running the gauntlet of these bad decisions? These are just not, this is not what we want. This is not what I want. What we want, maybe you think differently, but this is, I feel like I'm in a train and there's no track at the front. I'm about to fall off a cliff. So with that, that's why I made this tweet. That's why I don't want to turn this video into anything more than a rant session. But I'm done. That's my breaking point, man. I can't. But I heard that this new hero, Mizuki, literally has to the old translocator. So I think I found the hero I'll be playing next season. You know, it's I don't mind. It's just, you can put you push something down, you dash away, and then you teleport right back to it. That's what I used to do. I'll put a translocate around the corner, walk in with stealth, and then I'd unstealth, shoot, and translocate back to it, just like the good old days. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, no, Blizzard, this is insane. This is genuinely not okay. Maybe any other hero, maybe, but this is not it. Don't do this. But yeah, no, good night. It's about to be 3:40 a.m. now. But yeah, no, good night.